Hello Caffeine Fiends and welcome to another coffee review for www.getbean.com. I'm Vince the Mean Bean Machine and today we're back with our old friends Dark Arts Coffee and we're looking at their Turtle Power coffee. Now Turtle Power is so named because it comes from the famous Ecuadorian islands of Galapagos. Now Galapagos have a very kind of unique natural setup. They have a lot of kind of rare or animal species that are specific to that region. So it's a protected kind of nature reserve, and the people on Galapagos see themselves as kind of temporary inhabitants, and the animals, being the permanent ones. So a lot to do with Galapagos is built around protecting its natural environment, its natural resources, and the coffee grown there is much the same. So the farming is done in such a way as to disrupt as little as possible. And so this micro lot, called La Tortuga, or turtle in Spanish, grows coffee in small batches and then sells it off. Now, I've not tried anything. I think I've probably tried Ecuadorian coffee, but I've not tried anything from the Galápagos Islands, predominantly because it's incredibly expensive. It's a place I'd love to go. It's a place I'd love to drink more coffee from, but both are quite pricey. H.R. Higgins, so they supply the royal households, do one that they claim is possibly the best coffee in the world, but the price is probably a little steep for me. Now, this from Dark Arts Coffee was £16 for 250 grams, so that's already pretty steep. But you've got to factor in that's the cost now of shipping coffee over to the UK, and the fact that it's from this incredibly rare region. It's got to be protected. It's grown in micro lots, yada yada yada. So when you factor it all in, it's not a bad price, but for 250 grams of coffee, £16 is a lot. That's not Dark Arts' fault, that's just the way it goes now. But that's why I haven't reviewed Ecuadorian or Galapagian, I might not be right. Anyway, coffee from those islands. So, obviously the name is a reference to popular 90s cartoon and I suppose late 80s comic book, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what initially drew me in, and then obviously I learned a bit more about it and I was like, cool, sold. So the tasting notes of this are papaya mouthfeel with a cantaloupe melon acidity and notes of chamomile tea. So if we cut through all of the fluff there, papaya and melon, so basically a soft sort of acidic mouthfeel, I reckon, sort of tropical fruity, so a light fruity acidity, cantaloupe melon acidity, with a cantaloupe, right, papaya mouthfeel, so it's going to be kind of quite fruity and smooth, I hope, on the mouth, with a cantaloupe melon acidity, so yes, a fruity acidity, a bit of bite there, and notes of chamomile tea, so floral notes, yeah? I don't know if I'm going to specifically pick out papaya or melon, but those are what I'm expecting in terms of acidity, mouthfeel, floral notes. So not something I naturally gravitate towards, but it is a region I've wanted to try. It is, a coffee that I've wanted to try, so we'll give it as espresso, then as the old oat latte, see what we think, feel, are emotionally attached to. So let's grind this up and see how it goes. Here we have the espresso shot, glorious thick yellowy crema. Smells quite acidic. Yeah, and kind of a really caramelly look to it. Smells actually very tropical and quite fruity. So maybe that papaya melon combination is going to come through. We will see. We will see. Chin chin. Oh wow. Instantly not what I expected. The notes are, yeah. So that's incredibly smooth, but this wow. It's incredibly fruity for a coffee. Incredibly fruity. So much so I'm not sure that's going to work with milk, but we'll come back around to that. As a shot, that's glorious because it's just this really fruity. There is an acidity there, but there's no bite. It's a really smooth kind of, I say fleshy kind of mouthfeel in terms of fruitiness, not in terms of fleshy. There is something quite dense and yet really nice and light on the tongue there. I mean, wow, it's so. Sorry, that's just very impressive coffee. So I think initially you get this sort of floral note that is suddenly forced all the way back out of the way by this incredible kind of fruity rush. And there's the papaya is definitely there, and I don't get, I wouldn't kind of necessarily drink that and go, that's papaya, but you would go, that's a tropical fruit of sorts. Very sweet, very, well, it's not that sweet, but there is a sort of acidic tang. There's a tang to it, that's what I'm looking for. There's a nice tanginess. So you start out very early on, you get this kind of floral kind of hit at the tip of your tongue, which is suddenly just swept away by this fruity punch. It's very tropical, kind of nice, rich wave, and there's no roughness to it, but that fruitiness and that real sort of combination of the two really push through quite nicely. In terms of a shot, it doesn't actually taste a lot like coffee. You still go, yeah, that's coffee, but it's so unique in what it is. I'll tell you what, you start off with almost a grassy taste, and I think there's a lot of perhaps unwashed coffees that taste like that. I guess that comes from that sort of the way it's treated and its floral note. But it starts off kind of grassy, which is something I don't particularly like. You get this sort of grassiness with a slight hint of florality, not the word, and then the fruitiness just washes that away. And suddenly you kind of go, oh, well, that is really tropical. Really almost not, it's not like a fruit drink, but it's not like coffee as we know it. And that's really pleasant. I'd probably only have like one shot of it because it's such a distinctive flavour. I don't think you could drink that all day, but my word, is it impressive. 16 quid impressive? I'm not sure, but definitely impressive. Now, I don't think it's going to work with milk because of how fruity that is. So that fruitiness is either just going to dissipate and it's just going to be like, oh right, yeah, that's standard coffee, or it's going to try and force its way through the milk and it's going to be a weird sort of clash. Might balance out, it might balance out into something, some sort of middle ground, which is quite pleasant, but those are my predictions as no latte. Let's see, let's foam up some milk, see how we feel about that. one oat latte. I'm really quite happy with the texture. I mean, not the pour, but the texturing of it is really nice. So hopefully that will come through on the mouthfeel. So here goes. Does Turtle Power work as an oat latte? Surprisingly, not bad. So the fruit is really dialed back, and you don't really get any of the floral. No, that's not fair. I guess there is a slight hint of the floral still coming through, but ultimately the fruit and the milk has put that to one side, really. And it sort of makes that kind of really nice, rich, vibrant tropical flavour, slightly creamy, or very creamy, and mixes it into a sort of, I guess, almost yogurty kind of feel. That's not right, but it's I'm trying to kind of translate it over. I guess ultimately what I'm saying is I look for kind of chocolatey caramel notes that work with milk. And this does work, but you can't naturally kind of get your brain to say fruit and milk work together. But it does. It's not, I don't think latte drinkers will be buying this in their droves. One, because you can't buy it anymore. But I think the fruity tropical acidity there is not complementary to the milk, but it doesn't clash with it. There is a nice sort of, you know, oh, that's quite a different taste. That's a nice, it works, but I'd rather have something chocolatey and whatever in my latte. It's dialed back, but the richness does come through. It works. I will happily finish off those beans as lattes and not think twice about it. But if I'm looking for a premium latte, I'm not paying 16 quid to then put milk in it, if you see what I mean. But as a black coffee, as an espresso shot, go nuts. I reckon that'd be glorious as a black coffee. Just dissipate, just dilute that edge of it a bit more with hot water, make it black coffee. And that, I think, would be really lovely. Oat latte, not where it's at, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. By any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to go away, mull it over, finish my oat latte, and see if anything, you know, if an epiphany falls about it. But otherwise, do hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you in a sec. My final thoughts on the situation land us with 3.5 stars for Dark Arts Turtle Power. So my notes on that is it's incredibly fruity and tropical with a slight hint of floral notes, which makes for something different, something quite intense and very pleasant, but is dissipated slightly with milk and works better as a black coffee to my mind. And it's just not tones I would seek out, and at £16 you really want to be hitting something that you're really, really into. So I was tempted to give it 4 stars because it's a lovely coffee, but I just wouldn't seek it out personally again. I sort of tried it as a, you know, something new for me, as a, you know, rarity and oddity, but it is a lovely coffee, and I would recommend, you know, if it comes back again, giving it a go, because that fruitiness really is something quite different, really tropical, and really kind of like, oh wow, this is something very different for a coffee. So lovely coffee, but I only gave it 3.5 just out of personal preference. Otherwise, very pleasant. So thank you for watching. Do hit those like and subscribe buttons, and we'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.